What's going on YouTube? Welcome to episode 30 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button helping me and supporting the channel. Today we got about a 20-minute episode and we're going to be doing my favorite thing. And being somewhat sarcastic when I say that, we're going to be going to the pixel circle generator and we're going to start working on trying to plot out so this way we can close in the upper section of our saucer section. So if you haven't done this already, go on Google and just type in pixel circle generator, and for the width you're going to enter in 50, and for the height you're going to enter in 90, and this is going to give you the radius. Now I did this off camera and I did this so you don't have to, but basically what I did was I went up, and this is how I determine where I'm going to be building from, is that I count out from the middles. So that's how I determine my starting point. So we're going to be flipping over here to the stream here in just a second, and we're going to start building this thing out. So let's go ahead and get started. So now we're going to be going off of our original X access point and building out from the middle. So let's count this out. We're going to go from the front and back 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So the same thing on the other side. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Alright. We're just doing that going front and back. You don't want to do that going off the sides. And now we're going to add a couple of blocks going up. Now we're basically going to start to work our X access point, the line going above, straight across. And you can see I'm building that off of the lip that we already have pre-existing. I'm going to bring this going all the way over. Just like that. We got to bring in the remainder. Okay. Pretty good shape so far. Want to make sure I have the same thing on both sides. Get rid of that block. Let's bring that one all the way back now. And this is going to be our starting point. Same thing on this side. Now we're just going to build straight up because this is going to be our other starting point. So make life a little bit easier on the placement of your oval that you're going to be building out. We're actually going to be doing 2 of these today, and I don't remember if I go back to the pixel circle generator. I think we may go back to it one more time. I could be wrong, but I'm also pretty sure that this actually, because I can't remember if this was basically the last time or there were one more, but I do know that the outline that we're plotting out today, I decided to get lazy later on in the build, and we used the same template for the lower side of the lower hull of the saucer when we get down there, because I really just didn't want to go back in the pixel circle generator and rebuild it that way, so I just used this pattern and built directly underneath it. But basically what we're going to be building out, if you look at the Enterprise D from a top-down view, you notice that it's got like 2 shelves that lead up to the bridge, and also where the main shuttle bay is. We're building the first shelf, which is a little bit wider. And then the second shelf, which is a little bit smaller, and maybe it's still an oval, but it's more in the shape of a circle. That's what the bridge is sitting on top of. We're going to be building that also today. But this is definitely going to be very important because, like I said, this initial line that we're using right now, or that we're building out right now, we're going to be using this when we build out sections of the lower part of the saucer to close that in. And I'm actually starting to get excited because we're really starting to rock and roll on this build and making some progress. And while this has been going, I've been continuing on with the build where I'm at. I'm on the interior right now, and I haven't completed some of the sections I'm about to name off, but I've gotten a considerable amount of work done. I've built out all 3 of the shuttle bays, the primary, secondary, and tertiary shuttle bay, and I've also built out the main bridge. I've built out the battle bridge, as well as engineering, and maybe something else that will come along with that I don't really want to talk about right now because it's going to be a surprise. But I'm really looking forward to it. And if you're looking for a teaser on what that surprise is, just think of stuff that you would expect to have in a city, because that's basically what the Enterprise D is. It's got over 1,000 families living on board, so everything that you'd expect to see in a city, you're more than likely going to see on the Enterprise D, which is going to be really cool because that's going to give us an opportunity to build a bunch of really cool things that you would probably never see on a starship. Um, but nonetheless, I've got a ton of room on this ship to fill in. So if there's rooms that you want to see me do, be sure to drop a comment below in the comments section. I don't know if you can hear my cat in the background dropping a cameo. She's coming up right behind me and demanding attention while I'm doing this video. But no, there's going to be a lot of room to fill in on this thing. So if there's any rooms that you want to see from the Enterprise D that I haven't named off so far, or maybe other things that you could think of that would be in a city that would be interesting to build, drop a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. I'd love to hear from you. And if it's something cool that I think would be interesting that would enhance the build, I'll definitely do it. Because at the end of the day, I definitely want to get the community involved in this build, because you all are ones that have asked me to build this ship, so you should definitely have a little bit of input as far as what ships we're going to be building, or excuse me, what rooms we're going to be building inside the ship. Now, there's going to be other areas I'm going to be doing, of course, that I haven't named off yet, like the medical bays and the holodeck and the lounge, as well as crew quarters. But that's kind of like standard, like when we go ship to ship. That's something that you're always going to see in like the transporter room. You'll always see that on any ship you go to. So really think outside the box on that. Think of stuff that you typically would see in a city that would look pretty cool in the Enterprise D, and drop a comment below. Let me know. But I'm definitely really happy with the progress that I'm making so far. What I've actually been doing to prep myself for everything that we're about to get into when we hit the interior is I've actually been going on YouTube and I've been taking virtual tours of the Enterprise D. And you'd be surprised how many of those you can find, and that's giving me a lot of input as far as some of the stuff to do. Other areas of the ship, I've actually had to dig a little bit deeper, where I found concept art for the Star Trek The Next Generation of some things that they never got a chance to build out. And then I even used Star Trek Online for a couple other screenshots of concept art that they had made that just didn't make it into the game for the Galaxy class. But it was stuff that they talked about on the show that they were going to do. They just didn't have the budget to do it. So there's going to be some cool things coming. And I'm really looking forward to when we get into the interior portion of the ship. But just like the outside, it's going to be a daunting task. There's going to be a ton of work to do. But, I mean, at the end of the day, there's no reason to rush this. It's better to take your time and do something that comes out awesome rather than just to rush through and have just a bunch of all the same rooms going throughout your ship. Because that is one thing that I noticed that when I used to actually look at other people's work on Minecraft, when on PC, this is something that you can do too if you have a PC. You can go on these websites for Minecraft that have Star Trek builds, and you can download them. You can run through these ships and see what they've done, maybe to give you inspiration. But one of the things that I noticed with the ships that I had looked at in the past is that a lot of the interiors, you're just running across a lot of the same rooms over and over and over again, or they'd be a bunch of empty rooms and things like that. So that's something I'm really trying to avoid with this build, and really trying to think outside the box and some things that we can add in. But we'll get there, you know. Before we even get to the interior, we still have quite a bit of work to do on the outside. We still have to close in the saucer section, and then we have to build out the bridge, and then we also have to build the deflector dish, which is going to be one of the most challenging things on this entire build. I think that building out the bridge or the deflector dish, I don't know if it necessarily took the most time when during the build process, but it feels like it, because I was sitting on that for a while and I felt like I was working on it forever until I got it to a place where I wanted it to be. But if you look through the teaser trailer of the Enterprise, that's what the deflector dish is going to end up looking like. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. But anyway, I do want to get back in a little bit what we got going on here. Now you can see we've completed our first oval, and this is why I meant that we're going to be building the first shelf. So this is going to be basically what the second shelf is going to be sitting underneath, and the bridge will be sitting on top of the second shelf. And you know what? I just remember we are going to come back one last time and do another round with the pixel circle generator, which will be the third one, because we have one more outer ring that we're going to be building on this. I completely forgot about that because I was talking about that earlier on in this episode. I wasn't sure, but yeah, that's the third and last time that we're going to be coming back to it. At this point, I'm just kind of zooming out, trying to get a proportion of it. So far, I'm pretty happy with how it's looking, and you can see that I've got my kind of just shot right through that. Let's go back here for a second. I've already gone back to Google, to the pixel circle generator, and now we're going to do the height, or excuse me, the width 50, and then the height 62. This is going to be the second shelf that we're going to be building out today, and this is what the bridge is going to be sitting on top of. And I did the same process. I literally just counted out to the middle on this row, and then I started out, and that's how I get my center. And if it's 2, then you just go by 2. That's basically the rules there. You just have to find the center, and that's your placement on where you're going to start building out. And you just have to count out to get that diameter from the dead center of the circle. And if you're not sure, you can always count straight across and then divide that. So the easy thing on this one, the first line, I think the height, I actually want to go back and double check that just to be sure. Because it's going to be the same diameter as the first line that we have. Yeah, the 50. So the width is going to be the same actually. So we'll make this just slightly easier, is that our starting line is going to be exactly the same. Now we are eventually going to make it a little bit thinner, but for the purpose of doing this at this point, we really don't have to count out again, since this row right here, front and back, the starting point is exactly the same as this outer ring that we're starting. So just as a beginner placement block, I'm just going to throw down terracotta, a block of that. That's not going to stay. This is just going to be a building block. And we're going to be building out in blue. Now it's not going to take us as long to build out this circle because it's going to be a little bit smaller. And if you're still trying to catch up working on your first ring, feel free to pause the video at any time and just take your time with it. But the main reason at this point why I'm using the blue right now instead of the gray or the white concrete is because we're going to come back and we're going to build out, or I should say we're going to complete this row in blue where it's at, then we're going to come back directly behind it and do a row of white concrete, and then we're going to get rid of the blue. Now, when I did this originally, the reason I was using the blue was because I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to keep what I'm doing right now. And that's something that you can pretty much bank on, that if you see me using the blue blocks, that I'm either throwing down a quick builder line or I'm testing something out to see how it's going to look, but it's something that I haven't fully committed yet. And in this area, it's not really that big of a deal because they're not really going to be the two rows of ovals that we're adding. One's above the other one, so they're not really going to blend into each other. But in other sections of the ship, that's something that if you want to experiment around, use a different color, because and use something that's going to stand out. So this way, if you want to go and change it, you can see directly what you just added, so it'll be easier to make edits to it as you go. And that's pretty much my thought process on why I use this color when I want to experiment a little bit and see how it's going to look. I just happened to fall on the dimensions that I put in worked pretty well, aside from it being one row too big, so that's why we're going to come back and do the white concrete directly behind it. Because I didn't want the front and back overlapping with each other. I wanted the top, this shelf that we're adding right now, to be slightly smaller. But you'll see what I mean. When we come back and we finish this ring, we're going to go back and we'll make it to where that's not going to be an issue. That's going to be how this build is going to be from time to time. You know, just making tweaks here and there, trying things out, seeing how it works. If it does work, cool. If it doesn't work, let's just keep working on it until we come up with something that we want. And when you're building a ship from scratch, that's just how it's going to be. You know, you're never really going to fall into a scenario where you just hit everything on the first try. I mean, you might get that here and there, and we've had that during the course of this build, but it's almost inevitable that you're just going to ultimately run into scenarios where either what you tried didn't come out the way that you wanted it to, or it's just not working and you want to do something different. So, you know, don't be afraid to experiment and just try different things, because believe it or not, experimenting and trying different things ultimately gave me the ship that we have right now, because I was willing to try out different things and not give up on sections of the ship, and to continue to work on it until it came out exactly the way that I wanted it to. So we're just rocking at this point. We're just working on this next layer of our oval so that we can hopefully get the last of this prep work done so we can finally close in our saucer section. But before we do that, we're actually going to have to build out our corridors, and that's going to be vital to this build. You never, ever, ever want to build out your corridors with a closed-in saucer section. You can do it with the lower hull, because that's pretty much straight lines, and it's kind of hard to mess that up. But when you're dealing with circles and ovals, I've personally have found that it's easier that you do that with the top opened, so this way you can fly up and look down at it and look at the proportions and make sure everything's right. Now if you put a roof on it, then it becomes impossible to do that, so it becomes very, very difficult at that point to spot out mistakes if you do happen to make them. So that's a big reason why I build these ships in the way that I build them. And you'll probably notice that as we go on, pretty much everything that I do during the course of these builds, there's a reason for it. I've just kind of found out that doing this and following these steps have saved me from making mistakes. And I'm not saying that my way is the best way to do it. I think that there's probably 150 different ways to build a ship, but at the same time, you know, you want to definitely follow a set of rules, because it'll help you in keeping your ship consistent from beginning to end. It's kind of what I'm getting at. But I also want to make a point to show all this stuff too, because, you know, when I first started on YouTube, even before I first started on YouTube, just when I wanted to make my very first enterprise, you can't really find any of this stuff online. You can find people that have shown their update videos, but as far as finding somebody that's doing it in real time, and going over their thought process and everything that they've done to come up with the build process, maybe to give you an idea on things that you can do. I never came across it, so that was really a big reason why I'm doing this. And also because I really actually enjoy it. After doing the first couple of videos, I've just kind of made it part of my regular routine, and I've had a ton of fun doing these builds. And yeah. So yeah, this is one of the things I was talking about, getting back into the build process. Now you can see that we're going with white concrete directly behind the blue. And we're going to be doing this going all the way around the circle, because we're going to come back after we've completed our row now of the white concrete, and then we're going to get rid of the blue. So we're essentially moving it back, or moving it in by one, pretty much. And the main purpose of this is so that the front and back aren't overlapping directly with the oval row that's directly underneath it. On the back side, it's really not going to be a big of a deal, because that area is going to be covered up by the shuttle bay. But really the front area, that's going to be the area that's going to still, you'll be able to see it once we close all this up. So that's another reason why I'm doing this too. That looks pretty good. And now let's go back and we're going to get rid of our builder lines. Just be careful as you're deleting stuff, take your time with it, and just make a point not to delete anything else other than the blue line. I've just found that taking your time will pretty much ensure that you're not going to go crazy and delete a bunch of stuff that you didn't intend to delete. Because then you have to go back to your pattern, however you took that down. Me, I like to write it down, and that kind of sounds like a painstaking process, but I will cut my circle into 4 pieces. That's how I look at it. If you cut your circle into 4 pieces like a pie, you really only need one of those corners in order to build the full circle or oval. I'll just go off that rather than constantly looking at the picture, and I'll actually write out how many long each row is as we're going and what direction it's going. And that's made it the easiest for me. I don't know if that's something I've necessarily talked about in the past, but that's pretty much my entire process as far as what I do when I'm doing either a circle or an oval. I go on Google on the pixel circle generator, I get my dimensions, I just take one corner of the circle or oval and I take that down, and then I just start going. That's really all you need. You don't need to go and get the dimensions of all 4 sides, because all 4 sides are exactly the same. And that's what I mean by that. This is pretty much a perfect representation, because we already have the x-axis lines here, where it's cut down the top and bottom and then the sides. You only need one of these. That's it. And once you do that, you have one. You can take, let's say you do the upper right side, you can flip it over to this side, repeat that same process. You can flip it again over to this side, and then flip it again over to this side. That's pretty much how I do that. But now we can definitely start to envision where some things are going to go and what's needed. You know, we obviously still need to add some other areas. We have another level of layering we have to add. Another ring, the wideband ring, which is going to be the last time we'll be going to the pixel circle generator. We have to build out our primary shuttle bay and then the bridge. But so far, she's looking really good. This will give you a good sense of where we're going to be going with it. Doesn't seem like we've gotten a lot done, because we really have kind of burned through this episode building out these 2 rings, but they're still nonetheless vital to this build. And you think of it like this. This is really one of the most time-consuming parts of the build, because once we get through the actual templates, then we can start free building. We can start closing in areas. But this is still vital because it's prepping out things that we're going to be doing later on. But we will get into that as we go. I think I've kind of rambled on long enough. I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And new subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on so you get notified when those new videos drop. And speaking of new videos, you can always catch my new Minecraft videos dropping Tuesdays through Thursdays, and those videos usually drop at 7 p.m. Eastern. Also, if there's any rooms that you want to see me build on the Enterprise D, now is the time to ask me while I'm still working on the interior, because once I say this thing is done, that's it. We're going to be moving on to another ship. So be sure to drop those comments below. Let me know what you want to see, even if it's just a drop in to say hey, or if you have just want to say that you enjoyed this video today. Definitely love hearing from people. And of course, if you have questions or if you get stuck, drop a comment below. I'll try to help you out in the comment section if I can. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I hope everybody has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.